And right now we're going to be talking about Zestimates and automated valuations. Are they accurate? Okay.
No.
Thank you, Matt. No. That's my whole segment. No, but no, you're right. But so the Zestimate, what is it? Okay. It's an algorithm. Okay. And it's on Zillow, and there's several others on other websites as well. Now, it was designed, for the consumer to go ahead and go on one of these consumer portals and get information that should be, semi-accurate to what their home is worth. But oftentimes we're finding that it's not. A lot of for sale by owners, Matt, a lot of for sale by owners are listing their homes. And it's funny because you'll see their home listed at the Zestimate price.
Which is unfortunate because they're missing out on a ton of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think, though, I really do think that the Zestimate and those automated values are pretty remarkable. I do think they're remarkable, but they're not there yet, and not for the foreseeable future, because there's so many different things that that contribute to the value of a home, which I'll get into in a second. But you can't just have a computer right now at this point in time.
The computer doesn't go into your house and see granite versus marble or wood versus tile.
No.
You can't go in there and have those specialty items characterized by a computer.
At the moment, the computer doesn't know that your house is located on a dead end or a cul-de-sac versus the main road. Okay, these things, or a water view. You could be talking a $20,000 to $40,000 difference in price just from that location.
Absolutely, but if you're the realtor that just sold 4 houses in that same neighborhood, and he walks into yours and yours is a little nicer, how do you know way more than the computer knows?
Well, exactly. So let's talk about the different types of valuations on a home, okay? And the only one that you should really, as a seller or a buyer even, be concerned about is the appraised value. Okay, so Matt, being in mortgages as well, you see appraised values usually come in at the sale price. What does that mean when an appraised value comes in at the sale price?
It means that it could come you could go into agreement for $305 or $315, and it goes back and forth because of your negotiating. You're like, well, the buyer really wants this house, so they're willing to pay $315. When you're purchasing property, the appraiser takes into consideration what the buyer's willing to buy for it,
yep.
And then they look at the rest of the comps in the area and they try to make it work. Where this buyer's trying to buy this house for $315, and the rest of the houses are selling right around that price.
Yeah,
it's okay. We're good, and it'll come right in at $315.
So basically meaning that the market is escalating and they're taking in consideration the market value for that, which will bring me to my next point in a moment. But when you're buying a house at that price, it means that the market is escalating. You're in a seller's market, and the appraiser is allowed to take in consideration that market growth, okay? Now, what that means as a seller, it means that you got the absolute highest price for your home. Okay. Now, the reason why the appraisal is the main concern for value is because that's what the banks say it's worth. That's what the market pretty much says that the house is worth. Now, you may have buyers that are willing to overpay for that, and there's ways where we can allow that transaction to happen, but a lot of buyers, as well don't want to overpay for a home, okay? So then you're going to go ahead and we're going to have to renegotiate at some points how that's going to get done. Maybe the buyer and the seller, pay a portion of that, or maybe the price is lowered down to the appraised value if the buyer doesn't have out-of-pocket cash or can't get the financing, or maybe the buyer just gets denied for that mortgage for that property and we sell the house to somebody else. There's a million different things, okay? Now, there's some other valuations in here that I think are worthwhile about talking, okay? And some that are not worthwhile, okay? Now, one of them would be the fair market value. Now, the fair market value is a value set by the market. It's almost like the appraised value, okay? It actually takes in consideration the comparable homes in your sales, the local market conditions, the overall home and site condition, as well as supply and demand, okay? That's all going to set your value. You can't really argue with that number, even though a lot of times we'll sit down with clients and they'll say, well, we really want more. Now, overpricing your house is going to allow your home to not sell. It's going to allow your home to sit, and it's going to allow you to net way, way less when selling. I promise you, I see it every single time somebody overprices. I have this conversation with them, and still, I would say 2 out of 10 clients still want to go do it their way. Their homes sit. Okay, there's nothing we can do about that. We do eventually sell them, but their homes sit longer and they do net less money.
And that information is available to people buying it. They see people looking at your house, and realtors that look to co-broker with. They'll see how long that house has been on the market. Like, wow, how come this house wasn't sold in 278 days?
In a market where stuff is moving in less than 60, 70 days on average, even 45 or even a week sometimes. If your house is on the market for 90 days, 100 days, if you've taken it off the market, relisted it with another realtor, that history report is online. Buyers are going to know that. Keep in mind as well, they're looking at other homes in your area. Okay, if that other home has certain things that your home doesn't have, they're going to know. They're going to come into your house and be like, no way. Okay, so you've got to make sure you reach that right buyer. Now, another value would be the assessed value. The assessed value oftentimes is confused with the appraised value. Okay, so oftentimes as well, you don't want to price the home at the assessed value, because in a seller's market, the value is up and the assessed value is just a blanket estimate by a town assessor. Okay, and it's usually 1 to 2 years behind the market, so it's usually lower. And this assessed price basically is charged, you multiply that by the town's mill rate, and that's what helps pay for the police department, the fire department, the schools.
The tax assessor doesn't, just like Zillow, doesn't go into your house and see all the updated characteristics of the home.
No, maybe once every 10 years.
And that all adds value above the sales assessment price.
Exactly. And, the last one I want to speak about today is something that you should never take into credibility. Now, I had a client recently call me and say, our friend is a mortgage broker. Matt, no offense. Our friend's a mortgage broker. He came into the house and we told him what you were pricing it at, and he said, no way. You can get an extra $75,000 to $100,000 on the price. And I almost choked when I was on the phone with them. And I said, where are his comparables? Never mind the fact, how many homes has he actually walked buyers into and sold those buyers? Mortgage guys are great at putting the mortgage, the paperwork together and doing all that stuff and making transactions happen. We can't do it without you. But you guys are not
You got to know your role.
licensed real estate professionals that go out and price homes. You're not. And so they're like, oh, okay, well, our contractor said we could get an extra $150,000. And I said, well, again, let me ask you, how many homes have your contractor recently sold in your area? Does your contractor carry a real estate license? No. So a lot of times your neighbors, your mailmen, anybody, everybody likes to think they know a lot about something. And you just want to make sure you're getting the right information, because if you take the wrong information, you're going to end up hurting yourself and you're going to end up hurting your pocket. I promise you. We see it all of the time.